My wife said, "You're good enough to call me. Just sleep it off or call your mom." While I lay hurt after the crash, she kept partying that night. With another guy. The moment she told me to sleep it off while I lay bleeding and broken in a wrecked car, my world cracked. But what came next, what I uncovered, was far worse than any physical injury. I'm Ethan, 32, a paramedic in Chicago. My wife, Olivia, 30, works as a dental hygienist at a fancy clinic downtown. We'd been married 4 years, and I honestly thought we were solid. Sure, we had our problems, like any couple, but nothing major. Or so I thought. That Friday night in April changed absolutely everything. I was driving home after a brutal 12-hour shift, the kind where you run call to call without even grabbing lunch. My body ached. I smelled like the inside of an ambulance. All I wanted was a hot shower and maybe some takeout with Olivia. Then my phone buzzed at a red light. It was her. "Hey babe, the girls from work are going out tonight. Probably going to be late. Don't wait up." I texted back, "Sounds good. Be safe." What else was I going to say? She'd been doing these girls' nights more often lately, maybe once or twice a week, but I figured she needed to blow off steam. Her job was stressful, dealing with difficult patients and a nightmare boss. I trusted her. That was my first mistake. The light turned green, and I drove through the intersection on Michigan Avenue and Oak Street. I remember looking at the clock on my dashboard. It was 11:47 p.m. Then everything went white. This pickup truck came out of nowhere from my left side. Didn't even slow down. Just slammed straight into my driver's side door. The sound was unreal, like an explosion inside my skull. Metal crunching, glass shattering, my whole world spinning. The airbag deployed, hitting me so hard I tasted blood instantly. When the car finally stopped moving, I was sideways in the middle of the intersection. I couldn't feel my left leg at all. My chest felt like someone was standing on it. I tried to move, but pain shot through my entire body. My phone had flown somewhere. I could hear it ringing under the passenger seat. I managed to reach it after what felt like forever, my hand shaking so bad I almost dropped it twice. The screen was cracked, but it still worked. I had 4 missed calls from my mom, but I needed Olivia. I needed my wife. I called her, and she picked up on the 5th ring. I could hear music blasting in the background, people laughing and shouting. "Ethan, what's up?" She sounded annoyed that I was calling. I tried to explain, but my words came out all wrong. "Olivia, there was an accident. I'm hurt bad. I need." She cut me off. "Look, you're obviously fine enough to call me." Her voice was cold, irritated, like I was interrupting something important. "Just sleep it off or call your mom." The music got louder for a second. Someone was calling her name in the background. I gotta go. "We'll talk tomorrow." She hung up. I sat there in my destroyed car, bleeding, unable to move my leg, ribs screaming with every breath. And my wife had just told me to sleep it off, like I was drunk or being dramatic, like I hadn't just almost died. Some guy ran up to my window. He was the one who called 911. He kept asking if I was okay, if anyone else was in the car. I couldn't really answer him. I was going into shock. Everything felt distant and fuzzy. The drunk driver who hit me was stumbling around his truck, yelling something about how it wasn't his fault. The ambulance showed up maybe 8 minutes later. It was so weird being on the other side of it, being the patient instead of the paramedic. My coworkers didn't recognize me at first because my face was covered in blood. Then David, one of the senior medics, realized it was me. "Holy hell, Ethan!" They got me out carefully. I remember screaming when they moved my leg. Broken femur, they told me later. 3 cracked ribs, a concussion, internal bruising. It could have been worse, could have been dead. At the hospital, they asked for emergency contact information. I gave them my mom's number instead of Olivia's. The nurse looked at me funny when I said not to call my wife, but she didn't push it. Mom showed up around 2 a.m. She'd been asleep when I called. She was crying before she even got to my room, kept touching my face gently, asking what happened. I told her about the accident, but I couldn't tell her about Olivia's reaction. Not yet. I was too tired, too hurt, too confused. They kept me overnight for observation because of the concussion. Mom stayed in the chair next to my bed, wouldn't leave even when I told her to go home. Around 4 a.m., I checked my phone. Olivia hadn't called back, hadn't texted, nothing. But her Instagram story was still up. I watched it and felt something break inside me that had nothing to do with my injuries. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those headlights coming at me. And every time I opened them, I thought about Olivia's voice on the phone, cold, dismissive, like I was bothering her. The morphine made everything feel like a bad dream, but I knew it was real because my whole body hurt like hell. Mom left around 6 a.m. to go home and shower. She said she'd be back with clothes for me. The doctors came by around 8, told me I was lucky to be alive. The drunk driver had been going almost 60 through that red light. My car was totaled. If he'd hit me 6 inches further back, I probably wouldn't have made it. They wanted to keep me another day for observation, then I'd need surgery on my leg next week. I'd be on crutches for at least 2 months, maybe 3. Physical therapy after that. My whole summer was basically gone. Olivia finally showed up around 11 a.m. I heard her heels clicking down the hospital hallway before I saw her. She came in wearing the same dress from last night, makeup smudged, hair messy. She looked rough, like she'd been up all night, which I guess she had been, just not worrying about me. She saw me in the hospital bed, and her hand went to her mouth. "Oh my God, Ethan." She rushed over, tried to hug me, but I winced because of my ribs. She pulled back, tears in her eyes. "Baby, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was this serious. I thought you were just..." I don't know what I thought. I didn't say anything, just looked at her. She kept talking, explaining, making excuses. Her phone had died. The music was too loud. She'd had a few drinks and wasn't thinking clearly. She came as soon as she woke up and saw my messages. It all sounded like garbage to me, but I was too tired to argue. She stayed for maybe 20 minutes, then said she needed to go home and change, that she'd come back later. She didn't. Around 2 p.m., my coworker Daniel showed up. Big guy, been a paramedic for 15 years, basically taught me everything I know. He brought flowers from everyone at the station and a card they'd all signed. We talked about the accident, about how long I'd be out of work. Normal stuff. Then he got quiet for a minute, looked uncomfortable. "Man, I gotta tell you something, and I don't know how to say it." I already knew what was coming. I could feel it in my gut. Daniel pulled out his phone. My girlfriend follows Olivia on Instagram. She screenshotted her story from last night and showed me this morning. "Look, maybe it's nothing, but given what happened to you." He handed me the phone. The first video was Olivia at some club dancing with her girlfriends. Normal stuff. Second video, she was sitting at a table with drinks everywhere. Some guy had his arm around her shoulder. Third video, she was dancing again, but this time with that same guy, his hands on her waist, her laughing into his neck. Fourth video, timestamp 2:47 a.m., they were at someone's apartment. She was sitting on a couch, practically in his lap. The caption said, "Best night ever," with heart emojis. The geolocation tag showed an apartment complex in Lincoln Park. Fifth video, 3:15 a.m., just a dark selfie of her and this guy, their faces really close together. That was posted 30 minutes after I'd called her from my destroyed car. 30 minutes after she'd told me to sleep it off, she'd gone back to partying. Daniel was watching my face. "I'm sorry, brother. I thought you should know." I handed his phone back. Didn't trust myself to speak. After he left, I just stared at the ceiling for a long time. My wife had been with another man while I was in the hospital. Not just with him, but all over him based on those videos. And she'd lied to me this morning about everything. When Mom came back around 4 p.m., I asked her to bring my laptop from home. She did, even though she didn't understand why I needed it right then. I logged into Instagram through the browser. Olivia didn't know I had her password. She'd given it to me years ago when she was having trouble with her account and never changed it. I went through everything. I pulled up Daniel's girlfriend's screenshots that he'd forwarded to my email. Then I dug deeper into Olivia's account, her DMs, her tagged photos. The guy's name was Noah. He worked at the same dental clinic. He was one of the dentists there. They'd been messaging for weeks. Nothing super obvious, but little things. Inside jokes, him complaining about his day, her being supportive, her complaining about me working long shifts, him saying she deserved better. Late-night messages about grabbing drinks after work. This wasn't some one-time thing at a club. This had been building. I found photos going back a month. Group outings from work where they were always standing next to each other. His comment on her post from 3 weeks ago, looking good as always with a fire emoji. Her reply, "You're too sweet." My mom came back into the room and saw my face. "Ethan, honey, what's wrong?" I showed her everything. All of it. The screenshots Daniel sent me, the messages, the photos. Mom's a retired nurse, but she's sharp as a tack. She looked at everything carefully, didn't say a word until she was done. Then she put the laptop down and took my hand. "What do you want to do?" That was the thing. I didn't know yet. Part of me wanted to call Olivia right then, scream at her, tell her I knew everything. But the paramedic part of my brain, the part that stays calm during emergencies, told me to wait, to think, to be smart about this. I had screenshots of her with another man while I was hospitalized. I had weeks of inappropriate messages. I had proof she'd lied about last night. If I confronted her now, while I was emotional and drugged up on painkillers, she'd just make more excuses. She'd cry and apologize and probably delete everything. No, I needed to be strategic. Mom seemed to read my mind. You document everything first, then you make your move. She didn't even seem surprised this was happening. Later, I'd find out she'd never really liked Olivia, thought she was selfish, but kept quiet because I seemed happy. The rest of that day, I just collected evidence, screenshots of everything. I created a hidden folder on my laptop with dates and timestamps. Olivia texted me around 6 p.m. saying she wasn't feeling well, couldn't make it back to the hospital tonight. I texted back that it was fine, that Mom was taking care of me. I even added a heart emoji, like nothing was wrong, like I didn't know my marriage was over. They discharged me 2 days later, and Mom insisted I come stay with her. I told Olivia I needed help recovering, and she seemed almost relieved, like she was glad to have the apartment to herself. That should have hurt more than it did, but honestly, I was already checked out emotionally. The next 3 weeks were weird. I spent my days doing physical therapy, taking painkillers, and building my case. Mom helped me go through our bank statements, and what I found made everything so much worse. Olivia had been spending money at hotels. Not cheap ones either, nice places in Chicago, always on weekdays when I was working long shifts. Charges at expensive restaurants I'd never been to. She'd been careful. Never spent enough at once to trigger alerts. But over 6 months, it added up to almost $4,000. My money, our joint account, funding her affair. I called a lawyer Mom recommended, a guy named Arthur who specialized in divorce cases. I showed him everything, the Instagram evidence, the bank statements, the messages. He smiled, actually smiled, and said this was one of the cleaner cases he'd seen. She's handed you everything on a silver platter. We started paperwork immediately. Olivia called every day, but I kept conversations short. How are you feeling? Fine. When are you coming home? Soon. I miss you. Miss you, too. I played the role perfectly. Let her think everything was okay, that I was just focused on recovery. Meanwhile, Arthur was filing papers, getting everything ready. The surgery on my leg went well. They put in a metal rod and some screws. Said I'd set off metal detectors for the rest of my life. Small price to pay for walking again. I was on crutches, but getting stronger every day. For weeks after the accident, I told Olivia I was ready to come home. She seemed excited. Said she'd make my favorite dinner. When I got to our apartment that evening, she'd actually cleaned, which was rare for her. Candles on the table, pasta on the stove. She was wearing a nice dress, playing the good wife. We ate, and she talked about work drama, about how things had been weird at the clinic lately, how Noah hadn't been showing up much. She seemed nervous talking about it, kept changing the subject. I just nodded, ate my pasta, waited. After dinner, I went to the bedroom and grabbed the envelope Arthur had prepared, came back to the living room where Olivia was pouring wine. We need to talk. She turned around, saw my face, and her smile disappeared. Ethan, what's wrong? I put the envelope on the coffee table. I know about Noah. Her face went white, just completely drained of color. She started to say something, but I held up my hand. I know about the club, the apartment, the messages, all of it. I've known since the day after the incident. She tried to deny it at first. The usual script. Nothing happened. We're just friends. You're misunderstanding. So, I opened the envelope and spread out printed screenshots across the table, her sitting in his lap, her at his apartment at 3 a.m., their messages. The hotel charges, everything. She stared at the evidence and started crying. Full breakdown, mascara running, the whole performance. Ethan, please, I made a mistake. I was lonely. You worked so much. I felt neglected. I let her talk herself out. Didn't interrupt. When she finally stopped, I spoke quietly. When I called you from that intersection, bleeding and broken, you told me to sleep it off. Then you went back to partying with him. I didn't know how bad it was. You didn't care to find out. That's the point. She tried to grab my hands, but I pulled away. Told her I'd already filed for divorce, that Arthur had handled everything, that she needed to sign the papers. She completely lost it then, begging, promising to change, saying we could go to counseling. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Then my phone rang. It was David from work. Weird timing, but I answered anyway. Ethan, you need to see this right now. I'm sending you a link. I opened the link while Olivia watched nervously. It was a news article from that day. Local dentist arrested for insurance fraud and drug distribution. There was Noah's mugshot. Apparently, he'd been running a whole scheme, billing insurance for procedures he never did, writing illegal prescriptions, the works. The clinic had been under investigation for months. And here's where it got interesting. The article mentioned they were investigating all employees who might have been involved. Olivia's face went even whiter when I showed her. Did you know about any of this? No. I swear I had no idea, but her voice shook when she said it. Over the next week, everything came out. The police contacted Olivia for questioning. Turned out Noah had been using her patient files for his fraud scheme, forging her signatures on documentation. She probably hadn't known the full extent, but she definitely noticed some sketchy stuff and ignored it because she was too busy having an affair with him. The dental clinic fired her immediately to avoid liability. Then the police found something else. Remember those hotel charges? Noah had been paying her back in cash for helping him with paperwork. Olivia wasn't just having an affair. She'd been getting paid by the guy defrauding insurance companies. She wasn't charged criminally because they couldn't prove she knew about the fraud, but her career was done. No dental clinic would hire her after being connected to something like this. The divorce went through fast. Arthur made sure I got everything, the apartment, our savings, even got her to pay my medical bills from the accident. She had no leverage, no sympathy from anyone. Her own family stopped talking to her when they found out what she'd done. 6 months later, I'm in my own place, a nice one-bedroom closer to the station. My leg's mostly healed, just a slight limp when it rains. I'm back at work full-time and honestly loving life. Last week, I went on a first date with Chloe. She's an ER nurse I met during physical therapy. Smart, funny, actually gives a damn about people. We were at dinner when my phone buzzed. Message from Olivia. Ethan, I made a huge mistake. I've changed. I'm in therapy. Can we please talk? I know we can fix this. I showed Chloe the message, and she raised an eyebrow. What are you going to do? I blocked the number, put my phone away, and ordered dessert. Some bridges you burn aren't worth rebuilding. Sometimes the worst moments in life show you exactly who people really are. Olivia showed me who she was that night on the phone. Cold, selfish, willing to let me suffer alone while she partied with another man. The accident didn't break me. It freed me. And honestly, I've never been happier. Do you think I was wrong to play along, knowing what I knew?